Hi, hello everyone. Today I thought it would be cool to make a 25 top classics of my life. I am not saying these are the best classics in the world. It is within my taste, my favorites. My favorite classics from 1 to 25. Actually, it's gonna be from 25 to 1. So, I'm gonna talk a little bit about them and I'm gonna tell you their first line. So you get a feel of each of them, and let's start. In number 25, I have The Painted Veil by W. Somerset Maugham. This book, it's kind of a funny story because I first watched the movie with Edward Norton, and it kind of lied to me because the movie is a love story, and I went into this book expecting a love story, and it is not at all. It is so much better. It's an awakening of a woman in the middle of a distressful situation, in the middle of a breaking in a marriage, and it has so many beautiful feminist quotes. It is basically the story of this woman awaking to her life and to her real self, and it is introspective and so much more than a love story, and I enjoyed it a lot. So The Painted Veil, W. Somerset Maugham. Oops. See, this is what the ocean air does to my books. Let's see the first. First phrase, she gave a startled cry. So number 24 is To Kill a Mockingbird, which I don't have a copy of because I lent it to a certain specific person and that person never gave me the book back, and I still have yet to purchase another copy. So yes, To Kill a Mockingbird is beautiful. It deals with racism and bigotry and first impressions, and it's all in the perspective of a child. So you get that innocent, detailed narrative, and it's a classic for a reason. It blew my mind when I first read it. It was so good. I think the movie does not do it justice, even though it's a great movie. So yeah, that's To Kill a Mockingbird. The first sentence in To Kill a Mockingbird is, when he was nearly 13, my brother Jem got his arm badly broken at the elbow. Number 23 is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. So Sylvia Plath is definitely one of my favorite authors, but this book didn't reach like top 10 in my heart. It's about coming to age story of a girl, her troubles with depression, and her starting to understand what's going on with her mood and her heart, And I there's this thing in this book where her heart, when it beats, she hears it in her head saying, I am, I am, I am, like I am alive. And a lot of people have this tattooed on their bodies, like the I am, I am, I am. But after reading her journals, Sylvia Plath's journals, I think her heart is taunting her. It's saying, I am, I am. There's nothing you can do about it. I am here. I am alive. And I don't think she wants that. And this book has some racist stuff in it. There's this part where she's in a hospital treating her depression with, I think, electric convulsion shocks, and there's this nurse, and he's an African American, and she keeps calling him the Negro, even though he's a nurse, so she could just as well call him the nurse. But in like 2 pages, she refers to him as the Negro in like seven times, so kind of grated on my nerves a little bit. But I love Sylvia Plath. I love her introspection, the way she delves into herself and comes up with these amazing sentences and views of life. And I'm gonna read what's here, a little quote that it's in the back of the book. I felt very still and very empty, the way the eye of a tornado must feel, moving dully along the middle of the surrounding hullabaloo. So that's a part of depression, when everything is happening around you, but you are still and empty, and you don't feel part of it at all. Yeah. This is a classic. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. First sentence. It was a queer, sultry summer, the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. Now that's a very good first sentence. So we go to number 22, which is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I am floored to learn that this person, this woman, this adolescent, wrote this book at age 16. What? It's amazing. It's a story about a sort of a gang of young people who kind of find, it's a kind of found family story, where each of them, I don't know, she captured the individual characteristics of each character so well that you love each and every one of them. And Stay Gold Pony Boy is a famous quote because it is iconic. And nothing that glitters stay gold. What's that? I don't know. But Stay Gold Pony Boy. And this is a heartwarming, heartbreaking. It's an exercise to your heart. like, prepare yourself. It's great. It's great. The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Look. Oh man, the ocean is destroying all my books. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only two things on my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home. So we go to number 21, which is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. So this is not a novel, it's a play. And it's the first play I ever read in my life. I have never read any Shakespeare yet so far. But I was very prejudiced when it came to plays. I didn't want to read them. I was like, where's the prose? I want the prose, and it's just dialogue. But this play is genius. It's magical, it's funny, it's everything you would want in a play. It has everything crammed up in this play. And Oscar Wilde, his witticism, his intelligence is like chef's kiss. It's like you wouldn't believe. You have to read this book. This play, I never actually watched the play being acted, but I don't think I need to. I just really love reading and rereading this play. As I said, it's genius. It's utterly genius. The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. Scene: morning room of Lord Windermere's house in Carlton House Terrace. Doors C and R bureau with books and papers. R sofa with small tea table. L window on the terrace. L table R. Lady Windermere is at table R, arranging roses in a blue bowl. Enter Parker. Parker, is your ladyship at home this afternoon? So now we go to number 20, which is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. This is the first Virginia Woolf I read, and it's still my favorite to this day. It's all set during one day in the life of Mrs. Dalloway as she's preparing for a party in her house, and it's written in like a stream of consciousness way. It's not like a very common narrative. It's like she's writing what she's thinking, you know, and you go along for the ride. It's been a very long time since I read this, but I remember just being really amazed by it and loving it to its very core. And I think Virginia Woolf is one of the best writers in the world, and the way she writes this in this stream of consciousness way is genius, and you get to really enter the brain of the characters and mess around in there, and it's fantastic. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Mrs. Dalloway said she would buy the flowers herself. So now we go to number 19, which is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. So this is a modern classic. It's all about dystopian future in which the United States is now called Gilead, and there's all new kinds of laws based on religious stuff, and women have stopped being fertile. So the few women that are still being able to have babies are basically slaves now, and all they're good for is to have babies, and they are called handmaids, and they are like borrowed to each man. Like, if you are now carrying the child of Fred, your name is of Fred. If you are carrying, and then you give birth and you are carrying the baby of George, your name is of George. So you completely lose your identity. You have to wear this thing in your head, like people can't see your face and you can't see your surroundings, like a horse. And it's a very, I like to compare this book to 1984. Like in 1984, it's a dystopian future where privacy and the government takes away your privacy, and this book kind of deals with women's rights and the government taking away the women's rights and just shattering it completely. And if you have a womb that works, you're a handmaid. If you don't, you're either a wife of a very important man, or you're nothing. You're just dirt. So this book is amazing. I haven't yet read the one she released later, which is called The Testaments, because I'm nervous, just because I love this one so much. I think this is a classic, and it will continue being a classic through history. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I love this copy. Oops. Chapter 1. Damn it. We slept in what had once been a gymnasium. I did not remember that was the first sentence of this book. So next one is 18, and 18 for me is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. So we start with the Jane Austens. It's not the first one in this list. He won't let me film this. He kept... Just stay still. Okay. So Northanger Abbey. It's one of the first my cat is distracting me. It's one of the first novels written by Jane Austen, and it's kind of a satire on the books that were really famous at the time she wrote this book, which were Gothic books like The Castle of Otranto and The Mysteries of Udolpho. Yeah, that's the name. By Radcliffe. And people were like gobbling them up and loving them, and everything was like gothic, and people, it was just like the fad of the moment, and she made a book kind of making a satire of it, but it's Jane Austen writing a book, so it's gotta be perfect. And it's a love story. It's I love the heroine in this novel because she's the most like innocent and kind of, because Jane Austen heroines are like brave and cunning and witty, and Catherine is more like your day-to-day life girl, and she gets swept up in these novels, and she confuses life with what's happening around her, what's happening around her with the books she reads, and it gets her into some trouble. But in the end, everything is fine. But I don't know, just Jane Austen, she had a talent from God to write, because her books are just delicious. So that's number 19, I think.
Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. No one who had ever seen Catherine Morland in her infancy would have supposed her born to be a heroine. See, now that's iconic.
So let's go to number 17. Number 17 is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. So, yep. This book is about a boy named Pip, and his actual name is Philip Pip, but when he was a child, he couldn't say that, so he just said Pip, and everyone kept calling him Pip. So it stuck. And he's very poor, and he lives in Victorian England, and with his sister, I think. And suddenly there's this benefactor that gives him a lot of money, and he has a chance to become a gentleman and enter the London rich way of life. And he doesn't know who this benefactor is, and it's a mystery throughout the book. And also, the story is about his undying love for Stella and this really weird woman called Miss Havisham, who she was left at the altar, and she, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, and she still wears the wedding dress. And it's so many things crammed up inside a book. It's a classic, one of those classics that there's never a dull moment. It's special. It's so fun to read. It's the only, no, I've read Christmas Carol, but apart from A Christmas Carol, it's the only Charles Dickens book I've read, and I loved it, and I really want to read more of him. But yeah, it shows very well the dark side of the Victorian age, because you kind of see in other books and in mainstream, you see the glorious, glamorous way of life, but in Great Expectations you see the London of the people who didn't have anything in the Victorian era, and that's also a great thing in this book.
Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. First of all, I would not advise you to buy this copy, this edition, because it's like coming apart. If you like, just, I'm gonna put your nail like lightly over it. See what happens? Like, it's coming apart. It's a shame because it's really beautiful. So let's go to the first page. Chapter 1. My father's family's name being Perp and my Christian name being Philip, my infant tongue could make of both names nothing longer or more explicit than Pip, so I called myself Pip, and came to be called Pip.
So now we go to 16. Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. This cover is iconic. I love it. It's about a boy named Holden Caulfield who's an adolescent and he hates everything. He's in that state of that phase that you just hate everyone and you hate everything and everything is crap and what's the word he uses all the time? It's not lame. I forgot, but I don't remember the exact word, but it's like he's saying everyone is a poser and everyone is acting a role and he's done with it. And in this book he's expelled from school and he goes into a weekend away in New York, away from parents, away from anything, and he just lets it loose. And I think this book for me was nostalgic because people kind of hate Holden Caulfield, but I think you're supposed to hate Holden Caulfield because he's a snotty, annoying adolescent. But for me, it was nostalgic because it reminded me of my own adolescence and my own feeling that everyone around me were posers and I was the only one who was real. And I think it's a slice of life that was so well delivered. Like from the first line of this book you get the soul of Holden, and the way it's written throughout, it never changes character. It's like J.D. Salinger became Holden Caulfield, and it's amazing. It's so well written, and in the end, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there's hope, and I love that. So yeah, Catcher in the Rye.
The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger with this iconic cover. First sentence. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you probably want to know is where I was born, and what my lousy childhood was like, and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me, and all that David Copperfield kind of crap, but I don't feel like going into it, if you want to know the truth. That's so Holden Caulfield. Oh yeah.
So now we go to number 15, and number 15 is The Picture of Dorian Gray. I have this little tiny book of The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's a masterpiece. It's by Oscar Wilde. It's, I think, his only novel, because he wrote mostly plays, but it is sensational. It's so intelligent. It's like, it's bountiful with amazing genius quotes. And it's the story is about a young person who is very beautiful, very in the prime of his life, and a painter does his portrait, and this young person makes a deal that, I don't know, with the devil. He wants to be young forever. He wants to stay in that state of the prime of his life forever. So all that's bad that happens to him happens on the portrait. Like if he nicks his finger, the blood will, like, he will heal and the nick will be on the portrait. If he ages, he won't age in his body, the portrait will age. And it's so fantastic. And the thing is that he gave part of his soul to make this agreement, and he kind of starts feeling everything halfway. He doesn't feel love in its fullest form. He doesn't feel hate in its fullest form. Music, beautiful women, and he kind of starts resenting this portrait because he has to, like, if he does cocaine, he has to do like 3 rounds of cocaine to feel a tiny bit of it, you know, because of the portrait, and because his soul is like just part of it. It's left in him. So it starts being a curse, and it's amazing, and it's so expertly written. Oscar Wilde had a gold in his pen, and I urge anyone to read this book. It's amazing.
This is my tiny copy of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Let's see the first sentence, chapter 1. The studio was filled with the rich odor of roses, and when the light summer wind stirred amidst the trees of the garden, there came through the open door the heavy scent of the lilac, or the more delicate perfume of the pink flowering thorn. Now that's very, very, like, calling to your senses.